Hey guys, welcome back to Total Tactics Football. This is Mehdi. Today, my co host Fran is unavailable, hence, I will be covering the Chelsea versus Leeds game where Lampard was able to get the best of his managerial counterpart in Bielsa and take Chelsea to the top of the league. It was an interesting matchup where Lampard had to get his tactics absolutely spot on against a well oiled Leeds side, and he was able to do exactly that. Chelsea decided to set up with a 4-3-3 formation with the same back five that has brought them good fortunes in recent games. Thiago Silva captained this Chelsea side with Zouma as his partner, and the fullbacks in James and Chilwell and Mendy in goal. Kanté was tasked with the responsibility of breaking Leeds' counters and recycling the ball to his midfield partners in Havertz and Mount, with the front line of Giroud, who had an excellent game against Sevilla in midweek, Ziyech and Werner continuing their forms on the flank. The personnel Lampard picked for this matchup were crucial to executing his plan. One of the major ways an opposition faces against Bielsa is how they like to implement a man-to-man marking system, which forces oppositions in losing possession. Lampard tactically got his team on point. To beat this man marking system, he needed dribblers, and in Kanté and Havertz, not to mention Werner and Ziyech, he has the players who are able to beat their man, take on players, play in tight spots, wiggle their way out, and counter as fast as possible. And that's exactly what Chelsea looked to do against Leeds side that has been playing outstandingly recently. This is a very well even game for the first 30 minutes. Chelsea started with a few good chances. Leeds scored early. But the greatest thing about this game was, from Chelsea's point of view, is that they didn't let their heads down. They didn't let the goal dissuade them. And they were able to keep to their plan and their tactics and able to attack Leeds in the right way. One of these ways was by exploiting the space behind the fullbacks that Ayling and Dallas leave behind when they move forward to press their man marking targets or when they're supporting Leeds in attack. These spaces leaves a lot of room for players like Mount, Werner, like the fullbacks to exploit. And as we saw with this first goal, Chelsea were able to absolutely use this to their right ability and capitalize through Giroud's phenomenal finishing. What is interesting to note is as well that Chelsea also looked to press high up the field. They noticed that Bielsa's men tend to sometimes make wayward passes in defense if under pressure or on their weaker foot. And we can see here how while Ayling's under pressure, he asks for the ball, is able to get nicked by Giroud, who frankly should be scoring this situation. But talking about this midfield and talking about this Chelsea side, one of the greatest threat that they've added to this team is their threat from set pieces. Chelsea have scored 7 goals in the league this season through set pieces, and I think the credit goes a lot to the delivery of the crosser. Mount has been excellent in picking out these targets in the opposition box, and the quality of his delivery has been key for Chelsea reaching those goals. Another factor in them scoring is how they attack late from the box. They move from the edge inwards, and that kind of puts pressures on team as they don't know if they should follow their man or if they should, depending if they are on a zonal marking. And we saw today how Giroud had several chances, and like in this goal where Kurt Zouma scores, he's able to run freely into the box without a Leeds defender being able to mark him. And that is an extra added threat that Lampard's side now possess when they face oppositions. So we're talking about counterattacks. We're talking about players who have ability to hold midfield in possession and the ability to use set pieces as an effective threat against their opposition. Another player who I'd like to mention today who had an excellent game was Christian Pulisic. He's showing that what a phenomenal talent he is. And he was able to change the game as he came in. Unfortunately, in expense of the injured Ziyech. But I don't feel Chelsea would mind because the depth that they have in their team and the players that they have on the bench can make the changes. And Pulisic was one of them. He was able to take on his man. He was able to grab the ball, run into space, look to take on defenders, to create problems. And we know Leeds players love to press. The man mark. But once you're beaten, once you have been taken out of the equation, it kind of makes it a little difficult because now you're aware that Chelsea has this player who's excellent at dribbling, who's excellent at dragging you out and moving you out of position. It can leave you with double-minded, like you're not sure if you should press or you should stay back. And that 2 seconds, those seconds of space that Pulisic can create, gave Werner and the likes of Mount and Havertz extra space they needed to be able to pile the pressure onto Leeds. And that is exactly what they did. They looked to move these spaces on the wings. They looked to use the space in the middle. They always had three men in the middle to attack. And that always gave them, Chelsea, enough opportunity to score. Chelsea had an XG of 4.1 in this game. Werner alone couldn't have a hat trick. We can see in this chance where Mount is able to create an excellent chance from the left hand side of the field, and Werner should finish. There's another moment where Werner should again tuck in the ball, but it's not just about the missing chances, but it's about creating those chances. And we know that with the quality of these players, they will get them in. Werner, you know, unselfishly at the end of the game brings Pulisic into it, and Pulisic is able to top off a excellent performance with a goal. He shows excellent understanding and how to beat his man. He comes across the defender, gets in the box, scores, and this Chelsea side is really showing why they are on the top of the league. They are deservedly there. They have the squad depth, the tactical understanding, and Lampard will be proud of his team. Leeds, on the other hand, played with a 4-4-1-1 formation with Phillips and Klitsch playing in the central midfield. Alioski and Rafinha tasked with playing on the flanks, and Harrison, who played in a hybrid role of a number 10 and sometimes a left-hand side central midfielder, and Bamford leading the line. Leeds tried to implement the same tactics as they always do, which is to man mark, press high up the field, and to pass and move into spaces. There'll never be a space unoccupied when Leeds is countering or moving the ball forward, and that is one of their strongest strengths. But the problem in this game they faced was against a very well drilled Chelsea side that was able to intercept the balls through Kanté, was able to read the game excellently, and also the fact that Leeds weren't able to continue that intensity into the game. This is where we saw some good plays through Leeds. They were able to score again. Bamford was able to get onto the score sheet with a move from the left hand side where Harrison is able to craft a beautiful ball in behind Zouma, who is sort of suspect here, could be doing better instead of moving out, should probably stay with his man, and leaves Bamford to one-on-one with Thiago Silva, and Bamford goes ahead and scores. Several times in the game, they were able to use that space on the left hand side. This was due to Werner either not being able to track back per se, or James being a bit out of position, and they were able to get those passes right. But every time they reached to the edge of the box and they cut back, Zouma or Thiago Silva or Chelsea defense were so well placed that the chances that Leeds were getting were not good enough. And that is where Lampard should be given credit, that he was able to create these chances, that he knew that Leeds will get into these positions, will be able to use the flank and cut back or cross, but it's about the quality of chances that they will have. And that is where, for me, Leeds were today not up to scratch. They lost out with the physicality. Chelsea were able to outrun them by 6 kilometers. This is the first time in the league this season that a team has been able to beat Leeds in their hard work. And in the end of the day, Chelsea showed how Leeds, with what squad depth can do, what tactical flexibility can do, and in in a season that's going to be very tough and very long. Leeds have been playing really well, and sure as well, Bielsa will look at this game, and next game we will see respond. But Chelsea were just the better side and were able to claim those 3 points